Hi there and welcome back to my channel. My name is Paula. Today I thought I'd talk about my cornea transplants. So yes, I've had a transplant in this eye about 14 years ago. What had happened was when I was 40, my family and I went down to Mexico for vacation. And I am a contact lens wearer of many years. So even though they tell you not to drink the water in Mexico, which we didn't, we only brushed our teeth with bottled water, we would wash our hands and take showers, and that's about all we used the water for. I didn't realize, and maybe I should have, but there's a lot of things that can attach to your contact lenses. And when you use water, even to wash your hands, and you put your finger into your contact, anything can get attached to your contact. So we had a great trip, but heading back home, this was in January, heading back home about 5 months later, I had apparently scratched my cornea. And I didn't realize that on my contact was something called an Acanthamoeba, a parasite. And I should have come home from that trip and thrown out those contacts and put in a new set. But I'd never done that with any trips, so I didn't that time either. I had begun to have severe pain in that eye. It had become quite red and irritated, and I started suffering from headaches. And I wasn't sure why I had all these massive headaches. I never suffered headaches before, but all of a sudden, and it would always be on this side of my head. Not here, or here, but always on this side of my head. I had gone to see my eye doctor, and I'd also gone to a few emergency centers to find out what was going on, because no matter what I was told, this pain persisted. I was told it could be pink eye, just a regular eye infection, or that I had overused my contacts. Lo and behold, about a month later, I had gone to see an ophthalmologist in my city, and he was very concerned with the ocular pressure in my eye. It is supposed to hover around 9 or 10, and mine had hit the 40s. So, in saying that, he would not let me leave the office until he brought my pressure down. And he was that concerned that he wanted to recommend me to a specialist down in Toronto, in one of our major hospitals in Toronto. And he put in a requisition for me to go see him because he could not determine what was wrong with my eye as well. And the pressure was very concerning to him. When I finally got in to see this specialist, Dr. Rootman, he immediately knew what I had, and it was an Acanthamoeba keratitis. And it is a parasite that had decided, once I scratched my cornea, to move in and take up residence there. My eye had swelled so much out of its socket, I couldn't shut my eye from this. The red blood cells had formed in and around the whites of my eye, and it just looked like someone had punched me out. My iris and cornea, the white blood cells came to the surface, and it looked like I had baby blue eye. It was very scary to me after he explained what we had to do to try to kill this parasite. There was no other way to do this. So he informed me that I would have to take two certain medications. Both were not approved here in Canada, so I had to order these from the States and pay out of pocket for them. And I had to order these every week. So it was about $200 every week, $100 for each medication. And I had to take both these medications every hour on the hour for 24 hours a day. So it didn't matter if I would try to fall asleep, I'd have alarm set so I could take this medication. And they were very painful to take. Mostly because of the parasite, and it was trying to kill it. After 2 weeks of this, I had gone back to see the doctor and begged him to do something different because the pain was still so bad. He told me that we would need to try a steroid, that most people thought that that would be a problem because steroids usually make things grow as opposed to killing them. But he just had a feeling that that's what was going to help me with my swelling and killing this parasite. And it worked. And it took a few more months, but we started to see a lot of changes in my eye, and the pain was becoming less and less. It was determined, once the parasite was dead, that I would need a cornea transplant because it had done so much damage to my cornea that they just couldn't save it. So, with that being said, I had two options. There was two ways to go about having this transplant. One was the regular, normal way with a scalpel, but I would have to be on a waiting list for about a year. And the other one was a new technique that they were doing it through laser, but it was not approved through my health benefits, and I would have to pay again out of pocket. So I discussed it with my husband at the time, and we both decided that I had wanted to see so badly and wanted to get on with my life because it was stopping me from driving and reading and doing normal everyday things because I just couldn't see out of that eye, that we would pay out of pocket. Now, in saying that, once the day came for the procedure, I was nervous and scared, but knew that this is what I wanted. And we did it through his office as opposed to a hospital where you do laser eye surgeries. And what they do is they sit you in a chair, they lean you back, and the machine comes down to your face to cut around your cornea. And to make a long story short, and not to get anyone too queasy, but it took them 9 attempts to cut my cornea because what they used to suction the laser around kept popping off. So, needless to say, that was nerve-wracking, and I was awake for it. Then they gave me something to settle my nerves, wheeled me in another room, and proceeded with the transplant. And it was a success. Everything went well. I had been bandaged up for probably about 3 weeks. And once the bandages came off, I was seeing. I wasn't seeing quite what I was before, but it was better than what I had been. And to the point where I wouldn't need to wear contacts. It was just a bit fuzzy to see out of. And that could be cleared up if I wanted further procedures as well. But at that point, I was so done with any kind of procedure on my eye. Fast forward to a couple of years after that, maybe 3 years after that, and I started to have more irritation with that eye and headaches again. Now, my specialist was on sabbatical, so I had gone to a different doctor, and he recommended a glaucoma specialist. My glaucoma specialist tried many ways to get down the pressure through medication, but he also decided to do a procedure where he would stick a needle in my eye to open the vessel. Now, that terrified me. He was going to just hold my eye open and insert a needle. And I had asked him to please clamp my eye because I knew I would flinch just seeing the needle come towards my eye. He did freeze the eye, but I felt the needle move around. And my eye teared up quite a bit. He then removed the needle and thought he would try again. And I was so done with that procedure. But he did it. And once the procedure was over, he said to me, "That wasn't so bad, was it?" And I in turn said, "How about I stick that needle in your eye and you tell me how bad that is?" So we ended up having a glaucoma implant placed in my eye. And you'll notice if I lift my lid, you can see it. Now I'm just going to grab my notes to tell you that what I had was a small prosthetic device that helps to lower the inocular pressure to prevent any further optic nerve damage. Sorry, I just kicked my camera. And that helped a lot. And I have to now have this for the rest of my life. Nothing will change. And it's definitely done the trick. Now, in saying that, a few years after that, I ended up going to see my specialist again. And he told me that half of my cornea was failing, that I would need another transplant, but just a half cornea transplant. I thought that that was insane, but he knew what he was doing. With that procedure, once it was done, I would have to lay for 24 hours on my back. I couldn't roll my head to the right or to the left, even while sleeping. And I really thought I hadn't moved my head. I had barriers in place, and George made sure that my head wasn't moving anywhere. Just lay straight, staring up to the ceiling for 24 hours. Unfortunately, I did develop a tiny little bubble under the cornea, but my wonderful doctor ended up correcting it. And so far, everything's been great. Now, I've always had to take a lot of medications. This has been a 14, almost 15-year process, and I will be on medication for the rest of my life. I will also have to constantly carry this card with me so that if I were in an accident or paramedics were to see me, they would know that this was in my eye when they checked my eye. I will also be on anti-rejection medication for the rest of my life. I take it once a day in the morning, and hopefully this will do the trick. It's probably been about 5 years since my last surgery, and I do still have trouble seeing out of it. It is still a bit blurry, but for the most part, I see as well as could be expected. I don't drive at night. That's my choice. I don't feel confident enough or comfortable enough to drive at night anywhere, because I tend to drive at times with this eye shut so that my better eye can focus. I know it sounds strange, but we all do what we got to do. Now, I know that there's a big chance that I could have another transplant down the road. And again, with aging, vision doesn't get better, it deteriorates. And I know that my eyes will do the same. We all have some stories of things that have happened to us, and I'm no different than anybody else. This was my story of one of the things that had happened to me. But I'm a big advocate of anytime you come home from vacation now to throw out your contacts if you are a contact lens wearer like I am. Always err on the side of caution and safety, and you're better safe than sorry by putting in a new set from wherever you've been. I'd like to thank everyone again for listening to my story, for coming back and sharing your time with me. Please hit the subscribe button, the like button, and share this video. If you do have any comments, I will reply. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I look forward to our next get together. Thanks.